Hi everyone, welcome back to the cosplay madness that is my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I gradient dyed my fabric for my Victor Nikiforov jacket. It was my first time gradient dyeing and it was actually pretty easy, so I'm going to show you how. I used a light pink chiffon for my jacket, and make sure you buy extra in case you mess up, which I did 3 times. Fast forwarding the process a bit to my pattern pieces, I needed to gradient dye the 2 front pieces of my jacket and then dye the 2 back pieces and 1 sleeve a solid color. Chiffon frays like crazy. So before I dyed my pieces, I coated the edges with clear nail polish. You can also use a product like Fray Check, but clear nail polish does the same thing. Practice on a scrap of fabric to make sure the nail polish doesn't mess with your fabric too much. After you've fray checked all the pieces you're dyeing, you're ready to dye them. You'll need some regular old white vinegar and your dye. This is the Rit synthetic dye in super pink. Make sure you get the correct type of dye for your fabric. Fill up a stainless steel pot of water and add a 1/3 cup of white vinegar. Then put it on the stove and get it boiling. Then take your dye and dump some in. Then give it a stir with the spoon. If your spoon is plastic, it will get dyed, because synthetic dye is for plastics, so maybe use one you don't care about. To make synthetic dye work properly, you have to keep the water boiling the whole time. If you don't, the color won't be as vibrant. Now take a swatch of your fabric and test out the dye. I laid my fabric swatch over the edge and left it in for 10 minutes to test the color. After it's finished in the pot, take it out and rinse it with cold water. Your fabric is going to look much darker when it's wet, so hit it with the hairdryer to test the color. Play around with the amount of dye you have in the pot until you're satisfied with the color, and we can move on to dyeing the actual pieces. So taking one of my front pieces, I got it wet with cold water in the sink. Then I'm carefully dipping it into the water. Victor has a pretty fast gradient that starts at the armpit, so I can leave the bottom half of my pattern piece in the water. Use your spoon to push the fabric into the dye bath. I set a timer for 10 minutes so I could make sure all of my pieces look the same. The best way to make a gradient is to keep the fabric moving, so I'm lifting it up and down into the water. Once your timer is up, lift it out of the water with the spoon and carry it to the sink. Rinse out the excess dye with cold water until the water at the bottom runs clear, and make sure you're rinsing from the bottom up so you don't ruin your gradient. This is what the piece looks like wet, and now just hit it with the hairdryer to make sure you like the color. And now we can do the other piece. Just follow the same steps you used for the first one. You can see how it works a little better from this angle. Just move your fabric up and down to achieve the gradient you want. Once my timer hit 10 minutes again, I took the piece to the sink and rinsed it out. Make sure you put your lid on your pot in between pieces so your water doesn't boil away. Follow the same rinsing and blow drying routine, and then you have your 2 gradient pieces. I had 3 more pieces that needed to be a solid color, so I just got those wet in the sink, set my timer, and put them all in the pot together. Make sure you continually stir these pieces so the dye coats the fabric evenly. Then lift them out of the water, rinse dry, and done! So this is what I turned my pattern pieces into. My Victor jacket is almost finished. There will be an in-depth tutorial on my channel soon. I hope this was helpful. If you'd like to see some of my progress pictures, you can follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook. I recently made a Facebook page, so if you want to check it out, sometimes I post exclusive progress pictures on there. Anyway, I hope you have a great week. Good luck on all your cosplay adventures, and I'll see you next time. Bye!